I want to bring some attention to a part of the Canestraro document that I feel needs a little bit more clarification to give a little context about how big of a deal that this part of the Canestraro document is and why it's ignored by the legacy media, the old media, and 9/11 Truth Movement for reasons that really puzzle me. Because here we have a gigantic conspiracy involving a foreign intelligence service and a domestic intelligence service shielding two al-Qaeda operatives from the FBI. So what I want to do is I want to share this this right here. Right? So CS3 recalled that from January of 99 till May of 2003. Now CS3 is confidential source number 3. That's Mark Rossini. A little bit of background about the Canestraro file. Donald Canestraro is a former DEA agent who worked on behalf of the Office of Military Commissions, and in July of 2016, he was investigating Saudi financing to the 9/11 attacks. And what he found was, with help from the FBI's Operation Encore files, that the CIA and Saudi intelligence were running an illegal operation inside the United States, monitoring two known al-Qaeda operatives, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. So CS3, Mark Rossini, recalled that in January 1999 until May of 2003, he was assigned as an FBI special agent to the CIA station that handled all matters concerning Osama bin Laden, here referred to as UBL station. The Bin Laden Issue Station was created in 1996 by David Cohen, who saw a vision of having all the intelligence services working together, sharing information about a certain person and organization. It just so happens that certain person was Osama bin Laden, and that certain organization was al-Qaeda. He would hire Michael Scheuer to lead the chief of station, and Michael Scheuer hired Tom Wilshire, the deputy director of Alex Station, which was codenamed from the Bin Laden Station, and he hired Alfredo Ambikowski to do all the hiring for the analysts in the station. CS3 stated that sometime in 2000, while he was assigned to UBL Station, he and another FBI agent, by the way, that's Doug Miller, became aware that two suspected terrorists, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar, had multiple entry visas to enter the United States. CS3 stated that the two hijackers ultimately made their way to the United States, and that prior to entering the United States, the CIA had tracked the above individuals to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. CS3 stated that the two hijackers attended what CS3 describes as a high-level meeting with members of al-Qaeda. According to CS3, after the meeting, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar then traveled to the United States via Bangkok, Thailand. Now, let's give a little context. This is what I want to talk about. How did the CIA come to know about this meeting in Malaysia? How did the CIA know about Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi? Now, in 1996, the FBI was running a separate operation on an individual named Ziad Khalil, who was a procurement agent for al-Qaeda. What does that mean? Is that al-Qaeda asked Ziad Khalil to get them like satellite phones, computers, monitoring equipment, because they don't have the means to collect these instruments. So he went and bought a satellite phone at a Long Island storefront named O'Gara Satellites. And what happened was this phone then went to an individual in Virginia named Khalid al-Fawaz. Now, the FBI asked the NSA, could you basically monitor who's calling that phone? And it just so happens that this satellite phone was decrypted, meaning that, yes, the NSA can intercept people calling this phone or the phone calling whoever. And it just so happens that this phone was in contact with the house in Yemen over 200 times, meaning that this number was important. So the NSA started monitoring the phone out of this house in Yemen. And it just finds out it's a global communications hub for al-Qaeda. What this means is that if you have an associate in Egypt, an al-Qaeda associate, that wants to send a message to bin Laden in Afghanistan, because the intelligence services, unlike here in the United States, they monitor a phone. Now, now the intelligence services do that after 9/11, but before that, we had protections. Well, Egypt didn't have that. Saudi Arabia didn't have that. Pakistan didn't have that. So they were keeping the Islamists in check. So this associate in Egypt would pass a message to this house in Yemen, and then because Yemen is not monitored by the intelligence services, they would pass the information to Afghanistan. That's why this became the global communications al-Qaeda hub. The NSA told the CIA about this, and this is the CIA's jurisdiction. So they took over the operation, and they put an analyst in charge of this, who's working at the Bin Laden Issue Station, Michelle Ann Casey. She became the lead manager of the Yemen hub. And so what happened? Well, they find out that for 2.5 years, they're monitoring the phone calls of the Bin Laden phone and, of course, the house in Yemen. It just so happens there was a phone call out of Malaysia to Yemen that the person in Malaysia, his name is Khalid. His name is Tawfiq bin Attash. So basically is a very high-level person in al-Qaeda, and basically was talking to a person named Khalid in Yemen at this house. The NSA finds out that Khalid is Tawfiq bin Attash, who's currently in Guantanamo Bay. That Khalid is Khalid al-Mihdhar. That sounds familiar? He was involved with the hijacking of American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed in the Pentagon. Khalid told Khalid that there's going to be a meeting in Malaysia that they needed to attend and to bring Nawaf and Salim. Nawaf is Nawaf al-Hazmi. Salim is Nawaf's brother, Salim al-Hazmi. The NSA tells the CIA and the FBI about this. And since the FBI it's out of their jurisdiction, they're relying on the CIA and the NSA to give them information, and they're not sharing it. So the CIA tells Malaysian authorities, look, whoever goes to this meeting, take pictures of them. And it just so happens that this condominium is owned by an Indonesian businessman named Yazid Sufat, who's also a member of the Islamist group Jemaah Islamiyah that's involved with the bombings of Christian churches and businesses to try and overthrow the government to make it an Islamic government. And at this meeting are some of the highest, most important names in terrorism. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Ramzi bin al-Shib, Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, Salim al-Hazmi, Fahad al-Quso is involved with the USS Cole bombing. Zacharias Moussaoudi, alleged 20th hijacker of 9/11. Ridwan Usamuddin, who's part of Jemaah Islamiyah, who goes by the Nam Degwer Hambali, he's there. And others. There's a whole bunch of others. And they're all talking about what the CIA thinks is the planes operation, 9/11, and the USS Cole bombing. So Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi leave this meeting, and they go to Bangkok town. Now, they tell the CIA about this. So they go into this hotel room, they stay there for overnight, and the CIA, according to one story, CIA breaks in, takes pictures of their passports, and finds out on their passports was dual U.S. visas, and that they were coming to the United States, New York City. This information goes right to the Bin Laden Issue Station. And the FBI reads this information, Doug Miller. And he finds out, oh my God, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, these are al-Qaeda people. Now, how do they know they're al-Qaeda people? Because in 1996, 97, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi were traveling through to Saudi Arabia, and they were being monitored by the intelligence services because they were gun running or supplying guns to somebody. And basically, they told the U.S. intelligence service about these two guys. Make sure you watch these guys, know about them. So they knew about them in the mid-90s. So the FBI tries to draft a CIR, Central Intelligence Report, which basically says that, hey, they're coming to the United States. We need to take, we need to monitor these people. But they're using CIA information. And the CIA tells them that they can't share this information. Why? Well, I'm going to show you why. CS3 stated that his FBI colleague at UBL station, whose identity is known to me, prepared a Central Intelligence Report outlining the possible presence of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar in the United States. Mark Rossini stated that after the CIR was prepared, he attempted to send it to the FBI, where it would eventually be forwarded to agents for action. Mark Rossini recalled that a CIA analyst, whose identity is known to me and is herein referred to under the cryptonym BVV, that's Michelle Ann Casey, told him that the deputy head of the UBL station, Tom Wilshire, that he was not to distribute the CIR to anyone outside of UBL station. Mark Rossini related that he passed this information to his FBI counterpart at UBL, Doug Miller. And as a result, the CIO was not sent. So they're like, why not? So Mark Rossini, who I've interviewed, basically went up to Michelle and Casey and said, why are we not selling Doug's report? These guys are coming to the United States. Because she tells him that they think the next attack is in Southeast Asia. And it's not the FBI's matter. But they're coming to the United States. But we'll know why they really didn't tell them. Later in the course of an inquiry into the events of 9/11, Michelle and Casey claimed that she passed the information regarding the two suspected terrorists to the FBI, so she committed perjury. She lied to the congressional inquiry. However, according to Mark Rossini, FBI records showed that Michelle and Casey never visited FBI headquarters, as she claimed to pass the information to agents. Mark Rossini stated that a search of the FBI files showed no record of the CIR, so it was kept away from everybody. However, according to Mark Rossini, the document was located by CIA officials in their computer system sometime after 9/11 during an Inspector General's investigation into the events leading up to 9/11 attacks. According to Mark Rossini, the CIA Inspector General also obtained copies of instant messages from the deputy head of the UBL station, Tom Wilshire, to unnamed persons that corroborate Mark Rossini's account of the events leading up to 9/11. So in other words, there is now definite proof, thanks to the Canestraro document, that Tom Wilshire definitely told Michelle and Casey to tell Doug Miller not to send this information and share with the FBI regarding two al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States. Right? Sometime after he was interviewed by the CIA's Inspector General, Mark Rossini was questioned by investigators from the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPR. Mark Rossini stated that he told OPR investigators about the existence of the Central Intelligence Report and how CIA officials had ordered him not to distribute the document to the FBI because nobody knew about this, the report. Nobody. So the FBI is like, really, does this report exist? So Mark Rossini stated that he believed at the time that the CIA prevented the distribution of the Central Intelligence Report as the agency did not want the FBI interfering with a CIA operation that was being run domestically in violation of U.S. law. That's right. That's the real reason why. Why does the media not cover this? Why does alt media barely cover this? Because Gray Zone did, thanks to them. Even Richard Gage did. Richard Gage. He gets a little credit. Franco Marcitic, he did. Thanks to them. Nobody else. Russia Today, they did. CNN didn't. The Blaze didn't. You know. I sent it to Jimmy Dore, Dave Smith. Nobody covered this. Huge. By the way, not even huge. That's a liberal term. This is the biggest revelation showing a huge cover-up by the CIA and Saudi intelligence because they were running an illegal operation inside the United States. And they lied about it. They lied about it to the FBI. They lied about it to the Inspector General. They lied about it to congressional investigators. They lied about it everywhere. According to Mark Rossini, prior to 9/11 attacks, the CIA was under pressure to recruit informants within al-Qaeda. Responding to this pressure, Michelle and Casey and her colleagues at the CIA were attempting to recruit al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar via a liaison relationship with the Saudi General Intelligence Directorate, the GID. Because CIA case officers don't speak Arabic, there's not enough of them. This is the reason why the CIA had to get the Saudi Intelligence Directorate involved. Now, what'd they do? Now, according to the Operation Encore files, which I covered in my videos, please go to my channel, type in Operation Encore in the search bar, and watch those videos. They're important. Through their investigation, the FBI found out that Saudi intelligence officials were inside the United States, acting on behalf of the Saudi GID. And it finds out that they were acting on behalf of the CIA involving monitoring of Khalid al-Mihdhar and al-Hazmi. They involved the individuals, Muwassid al-Jarrah. Muwassid al-Jarrah was the attaché, the Islamic attaché of the Ministry of Religious Affairs in Washington, D.C. He's in charge of overseeing all the mosques inside the United States and hires, by the way, the FBI found out that he was hiring Wahhabi clerics, radical fundamentalists to teach at these mosques. One of them was Fahad al-Tamari, who's an imam at the King Fahd Mosque in Los Angeles. Why is this important? Because when Khalid al-Mihdhar and al-Hazmi left Bangkok, Thailand, they landed not in New York, but in Los Angeles International. There was somebody from the King Fahd Mosque there, we don't know who that was, that led them to the outside of the airport, and there was a cab driver there. This cab driver was Khalid Ben. He was actually interviewed by the FBI, and his investigation was killed because the FBI interviewed him after 9/11, showed him 30 pictures, 19 of the hijackers. Who were the two men that you picked up? He pointed out two pictures out of the 30. Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi. FBI kills it, and it was Robert Mueller, the director. Why? Why? Because he wants to protect Saudi government from being investigated regarding 9/11. Nevertheless, Khalid Ben drove them to the King Fahd Mosque and met with Fahad al-Tameri. Well, it just so happens that Fahad al-Tameri is acting as part of this operation, which he was hired by Mossad al-Jarrah. Now, Fahad al-Tameri gave them lodging. He rented rooms at his hotel under his name. Now, 9/11 Commission states, Raj Day, a staffer, states that, oh, we don't know where, for the first 2 weeks, where they stood. Well, the FBI knew because in the Operation Uncle Files, it's related that these two men stood at the hotel under Fahad al-Tameri in his rooms, rented rooms. Later on, these two men were at the King Fahd Mosque and they were told about this restaurant. Go to this restaurant. So they go to the restaurant. Okay. This restaurant is called the Mediterranean Cafe. It's not there anymore. So they go there. Another associate of Fahad al-Tameri, Omar al-Bayoumi, he goes there, meets with them. Omar al-Bayoumi tells them, I'll help you. I'll help you here. You know, you seem like good men. So what does he do? He opens up a bank account for them. He tells them to go to San Diego. He tells his associate for the King Fahd Mosque to drive them to San Diego. We don't know who this person is. He drives them in it. He doesn't know any better. So while they're in San Diego, they meet with an imam of the Al-Ribiyat Mosque. This imam is Anwar al-Awlaki. He's actually assassinated by a drone strike by Obama in 2010, 2011. Anyway, Omar al-Bayoumi actually pays for their 2 months rent, gets them open bank accounts, helps them get a driver's license. Just like that. He never helps anybody else in the mosque, these two guys. So he's part of the Saudi intelligence ring. They're trying to collect information by being close with them, you know, because they're Arabic, trying to get information about who, you know, what are you doing here? Okay. There's another associate, Osam Basnan. He tries to be friends with these people. Basnan later on is being audio taped by a source with the FBI under the Operation Encore investigation that Basnan was close to many of the hijackers of 9/11. That's how the CIA involved Saudi intelligence involved. Mark Rossini further explained that the operation was being run by CIA analysts rather than case officers. Now, the reason why is because case officers don't speak Arabic. Mark Rossini stated that the FBI had been informed about the possible presence of 2 al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States. The investigation would have ultimately turned over to the New York field office sometime in 2000 for further action and possible disruption of the 9/11 plot. CS3 Mark Rossini further explained that FBI agents in the field would have most likely targeted following al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar with electronic and physical surveillance during the course of a terrorism investigation. Which is right? Now, watch this. Now, this next here is really big, right? So, this part here. That Mark Rossini stated sometime after the events of 9/11, he was in a staff meeting with several high-level FBI and CIA officials regarding terrorism. CS3 stated that he overheard one senior CIA official, the director of operations, James Pavitt, telling CIA Director George Sent that we were glad we kept CIA analyst Michelle and Casey from 9/11 Commission investigators. Mark Rossini recalled that Tenet acknowledged Pavitt's statement and confirmed that keeping Michelle and Casey from the 9/11 Commission was a good idea. So, in other words, now we have on record, we have a CIA director basically agreeing that we interfere with a congressional investigation. Because if, say, Michelle and Casey or Richard Blee, the chief of station, of Alex Station, were questioned by 9/11 investigators, saying, who told you not to share the information with the FBI? Well, they would probably say, me or the director of Central Intelligence. That's the reason why they went to Afghanistan. Now, believe this or not, now, after the 9/11 attacks, the CIA was in charge of capturing or killing Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. This was called Operation Jawbreaker. In the year in October of 2001, the leader of Operation Jawbreaker, Gary Bernstein, had bin Laden surrounded on the border of Pakistan, Afghanistan. And he asked for 200 Special Forces soldiers to block the back entrance to Pakistan. It was denied. Denied by Tommy Franks, the general of SOCOM, Central Operations Command. Where is he getting that information from? The Bush administration. So Bernstein's like pressuring, all we need is just 200. We could kill him. We have him surrounded. Denied. Dalton Fury, who's a part of the Special Operations Unit involved with the Jawbreaker operation, he was interviewed by 60 Minutes. And he says that he was going to lead a small team with oxygen tanks, go on top of the mountains and go down and block them off from the back and kill them. Denied. So he's all right. We'll fill the roadway with mines. This way, the trucks and the convoy with bin Laden would slow to a halt because they see one guy get his legs blown off. Now they're like, all right, there's mines here. So in other words, now they can't run out of Pakistan. So if they drive, they could use the bombers from the sky at night where they were traveling, see these heat sensors, a large amount of heat. No, it's bin Laden and al-Qaeda just drop daisy cutters or tomahawks and kill them. Denied. Watch this. Gary Bernstein, who led this successful charge surrounding bin Laden, is replaced by none other than Richard Blee. And he brings with him Michelle Ann Casey. The reason why is simple. Because they didn't want them to be investigated by the 9/11 congressional investigators or the Joint House Inquiry. That's why. Because they would have to tell them about the operations. They didn't want that. They didn't want that. Now, here's a big one. This is really big. Marco Rossini said sometime during June of 2001, the CIA approached the FBI's counterterrorism squad in New York field office and asked for a meeting regarding the al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar. Marco Rossini told me that the CIA had lost track of the two terrorists who were asking for the FBI's help in locating these two subjects. Marco Rossini recalled that he was excluded from this meeting in New York by the CIA's deputy, Tom Wilshire, here referred to under the cryptonym HHH. Marco Rossini told me that had he been present at the meeting, he would have told the FBI agents assigned to counterterrorism squad that the two suspected terrorists were of record in indices with the CIA since 2000. Marco Rossini would have further explained that al-Hazmi al-Mihdhar's role in a terrorist summit in Malaysia in the January of 2000. So in other words, what happened here is that there was a meeting in June of 2001 where an analyst at Alex Station, let me talk to it this way, Alfred M. Bukowski, told an FBI agent tasked to the Alex Station, Margaret Gillespie, and showed her the pictures of the Malaysia Summit meeting that the Malaysian authorities took that was faxed over to Alex Station and said, we want you to go back to FBI headquarters. And what we want you to do is basically show the FBI headquarters there about who these people are. We want you to tell them, who are these people? Right? So Margaret Gillespie goes back and says, hey, do you know who these people are? Now, Steve Bongart's one agent there. I think Dina Corsi's another. And there's a CIA analyst from Counterterrorism Center, Clark Shannon, who's with Margaret Gillespie. He doesn't say nothing. So what happens? Well, according to Margaret Gillespie, she says that, all right, who are these people in the photographs? They don't know. So they tell her, who are they? And she goes, I don't know. They're like, wait a minute, you're at Alex Station. You're investigating these people. They took pictures of you don't know? Well, this was a fishing expedition. The CIA basically was wondering if the FBI knew who these people were in the picture, then that means that they're monitoring Khalid al-Mihdhar, and that means that their operation, which is illegal, had to be ended. All right, we got to cut out of here. The FBI knows. But because Steve Bongard and the FBI officials at that meeting didn't know, That means the operation could continue. The next month, in July of 2001, Clark Shannon, under pressure from the FBI, because they're like, who the hell are these guys? Clark Shannon goes with the photographs and says, this is Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Now, what he doesn't tell them is that they were already in the United States and that they had U.S. visas. He didn't tell them that. So Bongard says, why are you following them? And Bongard basically says, I can't tell you that. What follows next defies belief. It really defies belief, right? So what I want to do is I want to play this clip. It talks about the meeting a little bit, right? Just watch this clip, right? Move me over here.
On June 11th, 2001, FBI headquarters representatives and CIA representatives met with the New York FBI agents handling the Cole investigation. The New York agents were shown but not given copies of the photographs that they and told that they were taken in Malaysia. They weren't told that. Still, information being withheld. This is after the Cole. Information withheld from the FBI. One of the New York agents recalled that al-Mihdhar's name was being mentioned. He also recalled asking for more information on why the people in the photographs were being followed. So we got an FBI now asking the CIA, why are you following these folks? He recalled asking for more information on why they were being followed and for access to that information. The New York agents were advised they could not be told why al-Mihdhar and the others were being followed. This is truly unbelievable. I've got to tell you, you all, this is extraordinary. This has got nothing to do with information which can't cross a wall. This has to do with leads which are not shared with the FBI. Just simple leads. Information, which is so critical.
Huge. Okay, now it's huge. So Clark Shannon is acting on orders from who? Well, it has to be the director, right? The director of the CIA, George Tenet. Now, if that's true, well, then we need to basically interview him. And so they do. He goes before the Senate the joint inquiry and basically lies.
Here are the facts. It's not just why.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clip, right? I'm going to play this clip.
That point, sir. Bombing and the
So I want to go back a little bit, play it right from, say,
it's irrelevant to my point.
right about here.
Denied them that information. CIA analyst and FBI that time.
Okay, so right about here. I'm going to, share this. Listen to the dialogue here.
I don't, but I will find out for you.
Now we have a meeting in the year 2002 in New York City. And this is a meeting of a CIA analyst and FBI officials from the New York field office, which was the office investigating the Cole bombing and the FBI headquarters, including the FBI analyst on detail to the counterterrorist center at the CIA. The FBI agents on the Cole bombing pressed the CIA at that meeting for information regarding Mihdhar and the Malaysia meeting, but the CIA representative denied them that information. It's a very specific finding in the staff report that there was a refusal to share that information relative to Mihdhar and Malaysia and as to why the CIA was tracking Mihdhar at a June 2001 meeting on a specific request of an FBI agent in New York. My question is, do you know why that CIA agent refused to tell the CIA agent what the FBI, what the CIA, let me start over. Do you know why the CIA agent refused to tell the FBI agent what the CIA agent knew when the FBI agent specifically said, why are you tracking Mihdhar?
We have, we're going to have a disagreement on the facts here. And here are the facts as I understand them. There were 3 people who left New York to go to Washington to go to New York that day. It was an FBI analyst from FBI headquarters, an FBI analyst from our counterterrorism center, and our analyst. They went up to discuss the Cole investigation. The FBI analyst from FBI headquarters brought the surveillance photos with her. And at the end of the conversation, and I've now talked to 2 of the people involved, Senator, the FBI analyst from FBI headquarters handed the surveillance photos to the New York field office personnel. There was some discussion about them. Indeed, they were talking about different people. Mihdhar was not who they were talking about in this meeting. When I asked our person at this meeting
yes, she was.
as to whether he was specifically asked about Mihdhar and Hazmi, he has no recollection of the subject ever being directed to him or ever coming up. So there's a factual issue here, and I've only talked to 2 of the people involved.
Let me read you the staff report. The CIA analyst who attended the New York meeting acknowledged to the Joint Inquiry staff that he had seen the information regarding al-Mihdhar's U.S. visa and al-Hazmi's travel to the United States, but he stated that he would not share information outside of the CIA unless he had authority to do so. That's what he told our staff. Do you disagree with that?
Sir, I've talked to him as well.
Do you disagree that he said that to our staff?
Oh, no, I don't disagree. He said it to your staff. I'm telling you what
Did he tell you something differently?
Yes, sir. He
Okay.
gave me a different perspective.
So he told you and he told our staff something differently.
Well,
okay.
But I think it's important, sir.
Yeah, but our time is limited, so let me just keep going. That's the answer. He told you something differently from what he told our staff. Mr. Mueller, Director Mueller, at that June 11th meeting, did the FBI know that Mihdhar and Hazmi were at the January 2000 meeting of al-Qaeda operatives in Malaysia?
I don't believe they did.
All right. So we still don't know in June of 2001 what the CIA has known for 15 months.
Now that's
Director
huge
Mueller,
right
after
there,
Mihdhar...
right? That's huge. Tremendous. So Clark Shannon is basically saying that I had orders from Tenet not to share this information. Now, if he lies, he's fired. But he's not fired because it's true. And Tenet's lying before 9/11 congressional inquiry. Because this would mean that the operation, the illegal operation, violation of U.S. law, would be uncovered. And that Tenet and whoever else, Tom Wilshire, Richard Blee, they'd all be fired. Michelle A. Casey, Alfred M. Bukowski, they'd all be fired or arrested, one or the other. And that it would be uncovered. Now, you know, how big is the Canestraro document? It's the biggest revelation in 9/11 history. And I don't understand, for the likes of me, how nobody's covering this. And I wanted to give it a little bit more context behind this video. And also, we're getting near the anniversary. This needs to be talked about everywhere. You want cover up, you want huge conspiracy right here. Right here. It can't get any bigger. Can't get big. It can. But let's start here. We got names to faces, to crimes. We can make a connection. How the 9/11 truth movement is not all over this, it defies belief. The media, I can understand. They're covering for them. All media, where are you? Libertarian circles, where are you? You want to hold these people accountable? The CIA? You know, the big agency you hate? Well, here it is. Here it is. I'd love to talk with Jimmy Dore or Dave Smith. I'd love to talk to Joe Rogan. You know, I don't need to talk to them. You want to talk to DJ Thubber, Nelson Martins, Ryan Dawson, Robbie Martin, Abby Martin? How about the young kids, Ben and Eric at Project for New American Century? How about Sean Russell and Darren Harvey over at Beyond Ground Zero podcast? Anybody, except for the crackpots. Don't talk to them. Vivek Ramaswamy, the Democrat, is running like a Republican. You know, he talked about the Canestraro document a little bit. Wish somebody would get to him. We got to bring attention to this. You want to hold people accountable or not? I hope so. So anybody who's watching this video, please share it all along with Vivek, with Jimmy Dore, whatever, anybody, the legacy media, somebody. Let's bring attention, not to me, because if people remember me more than the information, then I failed them. I don't want people to remember me at all. I'm a vessel, messenger. The information is the big key here, because we got to hold people accountable. It's either now or never. All right, guys, have a good night, and we'll see you in the next video.